he says, and he wants, I'm tired talking. So if you have a piece of job to do and you know that job is beneficial not only to you but your entire country, hold it tight. We're tired talking.
Yeah.
Otherwise, well, we might just ask you to take your bags and leave.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So how is it, sir? How are you doing this morning?
Well, I'm doing pretty good, and I'm following very keenly what is happening on the national stage. There's a lot of work going on. I'm sleeping far fewer hours now because I want to follow and see what is happening. Many things going on. The SONA, the State of the Nation address by the president, continues to attract discussions all over the place, and I think it's important that we place more emphasis on this because that's a whole elephant we're looking at various aspects. Take, for example, the issue of the conflicting numbers being pushed by the former government and the president to the effect that Liberia's money is hanging in the balance. We need to know who's saying the truth. That's why it's absolutely important that an audit be done to verify, what the figures are. Thankfully, the legislature has made an initial move to invite authorities of the Central Bank of Liberia to be able to come out and provide some clarity. And I think an audit will really do us well to know what the real numbers are. So we'll be placing some emphasis on why audit this morning. We'll also be going back into the State of the Nation address. And of course, we'll be speaking to our reporters from up Capitol Hill, from the Senate and the House of Representatives. And like you said, if we were privileged and honored with the opportunity of speaking to Honorable Moy, that will also be good for us this morning. So yeah, it looks like a very good package this morning. Let's see how it rolls out.
That's good. And the issue that has to do with this conflicting account from former President George Weah and that of our President Joseph Boakai seems to be taking a center stage across the world, across Liberia. All of the media outlets here talking about this thing, why the president left 40 million plus and this, that, and the new president is saying no, it's something around 20 or this. So it's raising serious eyebrow. And how do you think this can be laid to rest?
Well, that's what we already see happening. Already the officials of the central bank have been invited by the people's deputies to go in there and provide information. The president, His Excellency Ambassador Joseph Newmo Boakai, is emphasizing audits. Audits are so good. Sometimes we misunderstand audits, but we will go to the Oracle daily. It's a local daily in Liberia, and they have a write-up. They have a sort of an editor's note on audits and why audits are important. I think it's good that we look at the writings and provide some information to the public, because there's a tendency for people to think that to call for audit, you're looking for some thieves to grab. That's not what audits are meant for. Or probably you want to witch hunt somebody. That's not what audits are meant for. Audits, to the best of my understanding, are meant to look at the fairness, look at the records, see what has been done, what is the accountability that we can get as a result. Take, for instance, you're giving some amount of money to undertake a particular set of activities. After the activities have been implemented, it's a good thing to go back. Did we get value for money? Did we spend all the money? Can we account for the money? In that way, we can ensure good governance. As you know, the fight against corruption is something the president has been very emphatic about. Accountability, transparency, inclusiveness, these are all very good principles of governance. And I think it's an important thing that we have these audits, we have these records clear. Everybody's concerned. You're talking millions of Liberian dollars and Liberian people's money. So obviously Liberian people are right. It's good for them to know what has happened to their money. Besides, even if investors will come, they won't come in an environment that you have questions about transparency and accountability.
It scares them away.
Absolutely. So it wouldn't be a favorable investment environment if you have these kinds of reports that are unexplained, that are unanswered and unresolved. So it's quite key. So without further ado, I know we have somebody coming at 10. I just want us to take a snapshot at audits as been looked at here by the editor's note of the Oracle Daily. It says use the audit and audit, right? Use the audit and audit because
You use the audit
use the audit
and
in
audit.
audit, because the audit can be a verb, the audit can be a noun. Okay, so when you say audit, you're talking about an action word that's saying check out there and verify, what the claims are as against what is being reported, right? If you say an audit, it becomes a noun because there's a report that presents to you what the findings are. So to go into the editor's note of the Oracle, it says public sector audits plays a crucial role in ensuring transparency, accountability, and the effective management of public resources in Liberia. I guess we need that more than any time in Liberia's history at this time. As a post-conflict country striving for economic development and good governance, Liberia must prioritize the strengthening of its public institutions to foster trust, promote efficient service delivery, and combat corruption. These are some of the things that you hope to accrue when you engage in honest, forceful, timely audits, right? First and foremost, public sector audit serves as a cornerstone of good governance by holding public officials accountable for the management and allocation of public funds. Through independent and objective assessments, auditors can identify instances of mismanagement, fraud, or inefficiency, thereby curbing the misuse of taxpayers' money and promoting responsible governance. All the reason why audits are critically important, right? Without audits, we might just not have all of these, and these will affect negatively the process of governance. And so if you have an opportunity, this is the Oracle of 31st January 2024. It's a very lengthy editor's note. Once you go in there, you will realize the critical need for us to have audits. All the reason why you're saying the Liberian people are, oh, what happened to our money? The former president is saying this, the new president is saying this, and this is Liberian
Back to
people's
back.
money, and we need to know. Yeah. So it's quite important.
And with that, we think we will attract more investments in our country, more international partners who can NGOs, international NGOs will have a free flow in the country because they will know actually that we are meant for, we are for this kind of business. We want to do a legal business with them. But if we just leave everything hanging in the air, it will betray the struggle of the government to ensure that we have a good system in place.
This particular situation must have a logical closure. Nobody is going to hear about millions being misrepresented, mispresented, and come and invest your money. So you need to know these are presidents speaking. A former president and a current president are laying different claims. And I think it shouldn't be a big issue because as at the date of reporting, there are records to show what the transactions have been. So it's a good thing to have the central bank governor and his officials come and provide information to the people's deputy. But it's also very key for these audits to take place. And the audits we're talking about, they should not just be for today. What happened before? Mm-hmm. Even previous governments. Let's probably the last 2-3 governments.
We say,
let's go back, or maybe the last 2 governments. This one is just coming. Let's go back.
Ellen's government.
Yeah. It's not the first time there were counterclaims to when former President Weah came to power. He said he had taken over a broken economy. President Salif countered that and said, oh, no, I left money there. Sadly, the former president did not go in for an audit. And I think, as President Bouaka has said, we will no longer have business as usual. We should depart from that. Audits are very key. It's very important that we audit and know, and have accountability of what has transpired. So I think it's very, very key.
And sadly, people are speculating around to that even the former president, say they didn't see anything in the economy or into the accounts or into the covers of the state, and at the die minute it's something around 94 million. And it's something that keeps their feet to the fire as well. That this audit should be something that President Bouaka should take very seriously, not to just brag on it.
No, I mean, no one should take the issue of audits for a joke, because it's tied around our survival as a nation. Like I said to you, take for example, there's this massive onrush for jobs today. The government cannot employ everybody.
Yes, sir.
You need a very strong private sector. To do that, you need foreign direct investment. For people to invest, the investment climate has to be conducive. In that case, there are clear signs of, transparency, accountability. There's rule of law that people can invest in your economy, and their investment is protected and all of that. So it's hard time that we all go out for this audit. And this is not a witch hunt. Like I said, audits are not meant to catch thieves. We want to see what you did with what you were giving to do, what task you had to perform. You got system audit, you got financial audit. So let's do it. Let's do it and see who's saying what. Thankfully, it is happening at the highest level. If what the president said is something to go by, he said he will lead by example. So the fact that you're emphasizing, as we look into the State of the Nation address, you will see that even in the State of the Nation address, the president was very emphatic about conducting audits to ensure that whatever we do, we are accountable. Yeah.
And the issue that has to do with the asset declaration as well. It's something that the president spoke about. Ambassador Bouaka spoke about. He would declare his asset, and that will also put the feet of officials of government, incoming officials of government, that to declare assets. These are good things, and they help to. These are part of the audits, because if you take over as a government official and you start to acquire, get certain wealth that you you are now to get because of your salaries and this that. At the end of the day, when the audit is about to come, people start to complain. You're chasing after me. They are witch hunting me. They hate me. This that. But we think this is something good, and this is a government that is a mature government. We think we are sure, we are of the surety that President Bouaka is going to take the stance, and the good things will come and investments will flow Liberia.
Yeah, and there have been quite a bit of discussions in the public about the president yet to declare his assets. From what we heard the president say, this will not be business as usual. We will lead by example. You remember when he talked about in the fight against illicit drugs, me and the vice president, we will be the first to take the lead in taking our drug test. So I'm hoping that if the president has not done his asset declaration, he will do that in the shortest time, in the soonest time possible, to serve as an example. We're going through these confirmation hearings. We need to tie some of these things around the confirmation. I mean, if you have not declared your assets, then we have to ask you why not. We need to know what you have going in. Then, at the time you are departing, we will also need to know what you will have by then be worth. Then we'll know whether you acquire whatever you got justly, or rather there was something that we need to ask you more questions about. So, like I was saying, remember, just to take a look at the State of the Nation address, one of the things the president emphasized was our vision. And he said our vision, meaning the government of Liberia, the current government, our vision as revealed in the arrest. The arrest is talking about agriculture, roads, the rule of law, education, sanitation, tourism, shall guide the preparation of the new medium-term national development plan for the welfare of our people. So the arrest is going to be used as the basis to chart Liberia's course moving forward. And it says we must harness opportunities in agriculture, roads, and other infrastructure development, improve the rule of law, rethink education sector, improve sanitation, and unlock the potential of tourism. This government is moving on this mantra and is building on these principles, on these foundations, as the president laid them as his legislative agenda before the national legislature. The president said, we believe that creating economic linkages between these development facets and reinforcing them will help reverse years of economic downturns. The economy certainly has been challenged over the time. And so talking about the state of the economy, the president said the state of the economy is a cause for concern, with many of the citizens of Liberia facing perennial unemployment and economic instability. Even here at LBS, we listened to your workers' union president yesterday when he was raising issues about, salaries not being sufficient enough to uh,
To keep
help the workers to pay their children's school fees, to get good medical care, to get good housing, and all of it. And the president says we must not just recognize the pain and frustration that permeate our society, but also we must work together to introduce and pass legislations that will prioritize economic reforms that foster sustainable economic growth and job creation. And I'm happy you were saying this to the lawmakers. The quality of laws that we make, they must be tailored in a way that they will respond to the needs of the people who are represented by these lawmakers elected to represent their people in parliament. So yeah, I mean, these are some of the things that we are talking about. A lot of good messaging on the table, how we go about making sure that we implement what we are aspiring for will go a long way in ensuring that certainly Liberia will not be business as usual. Life in Liberia will change.
And the Liberian people are already yearning for these things that the president are talking about. The president talking about to be fully implemented, because according to them, they like this morning I spoke with one of our correspondents and said the citizens from all walks of life in that county are yearning for the president to implement these things that he's talking about, ranging from the issue that has to do with drugs, asset declaration, talking about the audit, and the people have confided in him so hugely, and so the president has a lot of burden on his shoulder now to implementing these things, because people are saying these things are always on the paper, but the implementation process for Liberia is the problem. But this president, the people have trusted him so hugely, and they rely on him.
Yeah, I mean, again, Liberia in this new age, all over Liberia, even in the counties, you hear about the issue of drugs, and it's a nation cry. It's a loud outcry, and there's no option. All that the government can do is to ensure that the right steps are taken to ensure that the issue of drugs, for example, I hear people say, "Oh, drugs are all over." And it's not Liberia alone. This kind of comparison we make sometimes, for me, is troubling. The fact that there are drugs in other countries does not mean you should not make effort, to curb the problem of illicit drugs in the country. We all know the negative impact. You see someone speaking, they're standing, they look like a zombie, and the guy's telling you, I won't even have shower. Shower is not important for me. Don't tell me I'm going to go and find food to eat. I'm not interested in that. I only want to, lay hands on my drug and be on drug. And so it's a very serious one. Imagine Liberia has a young population. And we're not saying only young people are taking drugs, but we're saying it's an area that needs to be emphasized. And then, the users, we always talk about them, but it's very key also that we turn our attention to those who are the importers, those who, ensure that you have drugs in the country. We again have to look at that drug law. Is it not strong enough? If it is, are we enforcing it? For example, there have been complaints about the drug law being billable, and some people think that the drug law should not be billable, and it's a debate. We hope, I'm not a lawyer, we hope that the lawyers will work with the lawmakers and we begin to look at these and see how we can give the drug law teeth to bite, so that people will not be brave to engage in the trading and use of narcotic drugs and substances across the country. I think this needs to be taken very seriously.
And one thing I captured from the president in his annual address to the nation, where he talked about the fiscal rules, the reintroduction of the fiscal rules and that of the travel ordinance. I think this is going to help our economy to boom as well, not where all of officials of government will just travel and just go and not even doing the business of the Liberian people. I think this is something good on the part of President Boakai.
Yeah, but again, when we initiated this discussion, we were talking about audits. We have to begin to look at if Mervin made a trip to Egypt, for an example, maybe for 4, 5, 6 months. He comes back. Can we go back and check on what we will get out of that visit? Probably, can we look at the resources he used to go? There are instances we go out, sometimes we don't use all of the resources. Can we reach a stage when we come back, we'll go back to finance and say, look, you know what? I had so much, but I used so little, and this is what I brought back. In fact, these are my deliverables. I went for this reason and that reason. I was able to achieve these so that we get value for money in terms of government expenditure. Too often people think that government expenditure is some strange thing that just came from space and nobody has to account for it. I think it's wrong. We should be accountable for the use of public resources. If you have a public vehicle, I wonder, you have a brand new vehicle, say for 3 years.
Yeah.
If it were your own vehicle, that vehicle will still be virtually new. But you feel that it's government vehicle, so in 3 years,
You just
it's
want to
done.
use it the way you wish.
And then we say government doesn't buy used cars. And then we'll go and say, okay, we're doing a bid, a public bid. He who wins it takes it. So the guy goes in there with the intention of owning that vehicle. He plays around it after 3 years. He gets virtually a brand new vehicle. And then government got to go again to procure vehicles, vehicles that would have otherwise been used. I listened to a testimony by David Coty. He's one of our media colleagues now. He said he's been able to use his vehicle for 10 years. You buy one vehicle, you go for 10 years. No government office will tell you that, well, they use the vehicle for 5, 6 years because we'll be seeing the losses. So probably the lawmakers need to go back and look at what that loss is. 3 years. Is it sufficient to put out a $40,000 car in 3 years to say, okay, it's now, let's get a new one? I mean, that's bringing extra burden on the government's government expenditure. So I think we need to look at that again.
And then, yes, of course, the president is a man with the wisdom, and these things are good for our country. It will really help us to think the best way for Liberia, because the president keeps talking about. Previously, the president in 2017, he was talking about think Liberia, love Liberia, and build Liberia. So these things have come into realization owing to the fight of all of these things that he's talking about, and making Liberia to be better, and bringing those direct investments that will boom our economy, because every country needs a growing economy. You can run a country without the growth in the economy. There should be monies intended for specific reasons, and those reasons should be adhered to by those responsible to serving those posts.
Yeah, for example, I've heard arguments like it's no longer time that we continue to do the slash and burn agriculture. You pick up a cutlass, you and your wife and son, or 2 sons, go to the forest, knock down some part of the forest, make a farm for you and your wife. that after harvest, the food cannot even carry for 6 months is gone by. So we're talking here about serious support to these initiatives, agriculture, for an example, right? Like the president said, Liberia is endowed with abundant natural resources. True. With over 40% of West Africa's rainforest, our country is home to a diverse array of flora opportunities. Liberia's forests. You got substantial amount of forestry in Liberia. So it's indeed a great opportunity. Liberia is also a leader in the discussion on climate change mitigation. Forest is among the nature-based solutions for climate change. So the more we place emphasis on the sustainable management of these our resources, utilizing them and being accountable, will go a long way in putting Liberia on a very strong footing. Will help to strengthen. For instance, I mean, you have climate funds, for example. With the right programs, with the right transparency and accountability, Liberia stands to be a beneficiary with the kind of rainforest we have, with agricultural practices, deploying good new agricultural techniques with viable seeds, providing more support to agriculture training institutions. This will go a long way in making sure that Liberia is driving fast in recovering our economy and improving the quality of lives of the Liberian people.
And this is where the president spoke about, is that the 2015 Paris Agreement, it was part of his deliberation during the SONA, where he said the threat of climate change to our environment and way of life is becoming obvious by the day, which is why we must join the rest of the world to address the causes of this phenomenon. And he is calling on the legislature to work with us, with the executive, to begin looking at the Paris Agreement, including the carbon market, to ensure the national interest is protected. This is good.
The issue of climate change, the impacts, the effects of climate change are so visible. Now, you're talking about power rationing, LAC, for an example. Many persons are now complaining that, because of power sharing, we are not having electricity at night. Climate change is affecting the water levels in the Simpour, for an example. So Liberia has great potential to help fight climate change. And so you remember a couple of years back, there was this huge agreement signed by Liberia and Norway for REDD+ implementation in Liberia. The actions can be taken to support Liberia so that Liberia can manage a forest sustainably in a way that it will help to mitigate climate change. We also had here the climate, agriculture and climate, forest and climate resilience forum, So the president was so right. But the president can provide policy direction. The leaders who will be in place, the legislature, for an example, the cabinet, for an example, other entities that are charged with responsibility, they must undertake actions that will ensure that the dream, the aspiration, the vision of this administration is achieved. And those who are in charge must provide the necessary oversight and leadership if these plans must be implemented. It's a good thing to take a job and celebrate, but it's more important for you to perform. You don't want to hold an office just for being there.
You renege
on
the
responsibilities. And I think this is where the government will have to put its feet down. If you can perform, you have to make way. Let somebody else who can do the job come in and take the job. I am one person who believes that the big argument about competence, qualification, I think all of those things are required. If you are qualified and you are not competent, then we'll have issues with you, because you can have an education if you can perform. Why would we keep you in that office when you can perform? So you need the integrity, the character. You need it. You need qualification. You need competence, and we must check you for being being productive. Somebody says sometimes when you even ask people to just make a report of their stewardship, what have you done this month? It's like you are pulling wires for conflict. If you were telling people at the end of this month, like it's done in the NGO or development partner sector, you provide your reports. What are your deliverables? Did you achieve? If you didn't achieve, why? We'll do performance appraisal to see over the time what have you done. But year in, year out, I go in, I get employed. I work year one, there's no result. Year two, no result. Year three, I know at the end of the month I grab my salary and go home. This has had to change. Our work attitude, our behavior towards work must change. Whatever you are given to do, commit yourself to doing it. Whatever the deliverables are, report that I've gotten my deliverables. Review what you did today from morning to night. What did you achieve? You went out today. What did you achieve? If you can't count on anything you achieve, that's a problem, because it means that by the next day, you have not gone anywhere. In fact, you are retrogressing. Sure. And Liberia has no room for retrogression at the moment.
And also he spoke about the establishment of the ombudsman. That will be checkmating officials of government. Before you take office, you should be checked properly. And this is just the same about the audit. So everything surrounds audit, and audit is good. And this is not a witch hunt. In his words, the president of Liberia, Ambassador Joseph Yuma Boakai, I don't. Can we have the time now to see if we can speak with our reporters? I think, or you have something there in the paper.
Well, you were just talking about the office of the ombudsman.
Yeah.
For instance, the passage of the Code of Conduct for Public Officials has not had the full effect of the law
See.
that was stated by the
Yeah.
president.
Yeah.
A major hurdle, he said, is a lack of the implementation infrastructure. That's where the setting up of the office of the ombudsman comes in. You need that office to be able to check implementation of this code of conduct, so that this particular office will be there to check. Mervyn, you have not lived up to what is required of you. Vowing, you have not done what you are supposed to do, and you are held accountable. So I think it's key. And at that point, I think you're right, because I recall yesterday we had the Minister of Finance designate, Minister of Education designate, LRA Commissioner General designate. They all went for their confirmation hearing yesterday, just to have an idea of what it was like. Well, probably we can go to Samson David, and then subsequently we can also follow up from the House of Representatives concerning an invitation to the central bank for its officials to come up and provide some information about the conflicting account of what was left in the national coffers.
Okay, Samson is now on the line, so just speak.
So you can just control the cause. Samson David, good morning. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Anthony, and also good morning to Mervyn Stewart. And I'm following your discussion. I think it's quite interesting.
Okay, so you are our reporter assigned at the Liberian Senate, not the House of Senate, the Liberian Senate.
Yeah,
because I hear people say House of Senate. No, it's the Liberian Senate, and the lower house is the House of Representatives. Okay, so are you around the Senate this morning?
Well, I'm almost around the building. This is the usual place of the summer, especially at the time. We need to be around all the time.
Okay, so the confirmation hearings for officials of government who have been nominated by the president kicked off yesterday. Are we expecting more confirmation hearings today?
Well, thank you. Yes, indeed, we are expected to attend the hearing of only one nominee today, according to schedule for what we have in our section, what we heard, which is the foreign minister designate. Today will appear, and that will be chaired by the Senate Committee Chair on Foreign Affairs. That committee is chaired by Senator Darius Dillon, Abraham Darius Dillon. So we expect that hearing to take place today.
So that's the hearing of Foreign Affairs Minister designate Sarah Beslow Yanti.
Yes, that is the. But Mr. Bauer, this is the issue of confirmation is in line with Article 54 of the Liberian Constitution, which says that the president shall nominate, and with the consent of the Senate, appoint and commission cabinet ministers, deputy, assistant cabinet ministers, ambassadors, and so on. So, today gave it a rundown of what actually went on yesterday. We have the confirmations of our 4 nominees, which of course took place yesterday. 3 in the main chambers of the Senate, while 1 took place in the conference room of the Senate. And that was due to the time interval the stretch you gave on. Yesterday earlier was the Education Minister designate at the Jaso Jala Sibne, followed by Minister of Finance and Development Planning, designated Mr. Boama Kamara, that of the LRA, that is the Liberia Revenue Authority Commissioner General designate Dr. Jala, and that was actually done jointly because the committee that chaired this hearing yesterday was the Committee on Ways, Means, Finance, and Budget, and it's chaired by Bone County Senator Prince Moy. So following that, you also have the Minister of State for Presidential Affairs hearing also took place. That Ambassador Sylvester Grisby also took place in the conference room, and that was chaired by the Committee on Executives, chaired by Maryland County Senator James Manning. So today we have, like I said, we have coming up the confirmation hearing of Madam Sarah Beslow Yanti, the Foreign Affairs Minister. So we expect a lot this week. The President submitted names of several nominees, which approved. Some of the names are still in committee room. To that name of few have the Police Inspector General designate Dr. Coleman. We We had the EPS director, Senge, EPS director designate, Senge, sitting committee room. We have the Minister of Commerce and Industry, still the designate, Mr. Ami Moda, still the committee room. And we also have the Minister of Agriculture designate, Dr. Edijana Newta, still in committee room. We have Dr. Louis Okoto, Ministry of Health, and we also have Mr. Ibrahim Kuma, Director General of the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, designate. So we have a lot still in the committee room. So as soon as we get the schedule for the rest of them, that will be placed to give them elaborate will be,
Yeah, quite detailed. Let's just take a snapshot at how these hearings have been going. These officials of government designate are appearing before various committees. What is the atmosphere like? How are the hearings proceeding in terms of interaction between the committees and the nominees?
One confirmation actually that most of the county senator usually say is that it's a job interview. It's about knowing you, basically your qualification, what you can do, your character, and so on, your connection, and what you intend, what you bring on board, what you bring on the table in terms of the improvements of the economy. So, as usual, you understand that the branch of the capital is very electric, where you have supporters of those nominees coming on the floor. Some of them are chanting, singing, some of them are dancing. You have startup being played, and you also have supporters of them. The entrance of the plan of the chamber, and you have t-shirts being printed, and people wearing a t-shirt and so on. So it's a great interaction where you have the nominees sitting before the members of the committee and being asked a question, especially as it relates to the development of the country. For example, yesterday, the Minister of Finance and Development, Planning Designate, Mr. Abuama Kamara, also talked about the reason for the backwardness, world backwardness of the Liberian economy is due to limited emphasis on economic diversification. And he also talked about Liberia, and there is a need for Liberia to rethink the whole economic model that is, which of course relies on mainly exploitation of raw materials, including iron ore, rubber, and other minerals. He also talked about Liberians that need to actually be Liberians need to be intentional about innovation and think outside the box to build a vibrant and inclusive economy. He also spoke about, repositioning the economy of the country with the support, through collaboration with support from relevant ministries and agencies and government with their support and also partner to be able to reposition the economy of the country. And he also talked about that is achievable, especially under the new developmental pillar which has to, or developmental agenda which has to do with arrest. As you may know, arrest is a usual thing we talk about the agricultural rules of law, education, sanitation, and tourism. And so we're calling to him that is achievable, but what Liberians need to do is to look at to be intentional in terms of securing and sustaining financing for critical investment and ensuring the optimizations of public resources for the common good of the country. So he talked about that, and he talked about nationwide in terms of how Liberians, how the country borrows, most of the borrowers go towards the high cost of electricity, limited paved roads along the growth corridor, to strengthen the financial system for more support to development projects and guarantee structural transformation.
I think you captured very well. I mean, I was just coming to asking you some of the high points of discussions during the confirmation hearing. You did so well with finance. Let's look at Ministry of Education. What were the notable key points that were lifted during the confirmation hearings as well? The Ministry of Education, what were some of the notable or key points that were lifted, just like you so admirably discuss finance just now?
Well, education, the issue of education, right for education is also in the Constitution. It is the responsibility of the government, the right of Liberians to be educated by the government. And so the Minister of Education, Dr. Jaso Jala Sikwe were very, meticulous in a presentation in terms of tackling some of the major loopholes in the educational system. And she also talked about the issue of infrastructural improvement, talk about logistical improvement, and talk about creating an enabling environment for students, looking also at the incentivizing in terms of there will be a general stakeholder meetings across the country. They are pointing out with some of the issues faced in terms of far away areas, people who are teaching in rural areas, far away lines, to see how they can incentivize them and improve the living condition. For example, having teacher portals and adding value to their work and according to her. That would be one of the major things on her plate. And also look at the issue of volunteer teacher and also improving the teacher sector. She was once she was at the LEPA before under the administration of former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. So she understands the issue of TVET, and so she talked about that. That would be able to improve the living standard of people, especially rural areas where people there need, or especially young people. The issue of TVET cannot be overemphasized because it's very much important. So she wrapped up a lot of things.
The issue of funding, the issue of funding as well. The issue of funding, not just looking at government funds and creative ways.
That she put back to the legislature because they are responsible for appropriation allocation of the budget. So what she told them after naming all of the issues in terms of having a program-based budget, she came back to them and said, this is only achievable. This can be achieved based on your support. That is not just moral support. That is not through legislation alone, but the issue of financial support. Because if there is, finance, money put in a budget for the Ministry of Education, you understand that life of the people will be improved. There will be competition. You understand that a lot of people want to venture in education, want to venture in teaching. So she put it back to them to see how they can, help in the process. And the chair of that committee is Magibi County Senator. Chair of the Senate Leadership Committee, Education and Public Administration, and she has showed the Minister Destiny Jaso Sikwe that the Senate Committee on Education will do everything possible with lobby along with their colleagues to ensure that if she confirmed the media support will be given.
The minister also talked about liaising with development partners that have interest in education, how to align their interventions, with government's educational policy as far as funding is concerned. Did you pick up something on that as well?
Yes, that was one of the things that she made mention of. She made specific reference to, because according to what we gather so far, we're hearing that some of the development partners, they choose which counties and they choose which project to support which school. And so this is why she actually made mention of that to align to ensure that we have a general meeting. According to her, she met with Senate for nomination. She been able to meet with some of the development partners to see how they could change the more in terms of synchronizing, ensuring that yes, this is what is in line with the development agenda
of Liberia. Okay, so let's look at when this guy was nominated. A lot of people in the parliament were saying, "Wow, this guy is very integral. This guy doesn't take a chance." The Commissioner General designate. Double Jala. Did you also follow his confirmation hearing? What were the high points?
Yes. Thanks to management who were there, and that was live on LNTV yesterday. Ensuring that the Liberian people are aware of, especially the person who is about to collect the vehicle revenue across the country. So that was live on LNTV. With him, his arrival yesterday was different in terms of his credibility, because most of the senators who were, in attendance yesterday for the confirmation of both of them because that was jointly. They were amazed. I've heard some of the senators saying, "We know your work. We know what you can do." Is this Mr. Jala? We've been hearing about this Mr. Jala who served in the government before. Is it the same Mr. Jala who did this before in terms of credibility, in terms of transparency and accountability? And he said yes. So both of them yesterday openly said, "You get our support and we support you." And yesterday she made a plan. She made a presentation to the committee, especially in terms of improving the revenue regime. We talked about focusing on institutional strengthening, revenue expansion, governance improvement to promote efficient and effective revenue generation. He also called for the legislature to elevate the LRA, that's the Bureau of Revenue Authority, by granting it full autonomous status to empower the entity to make strategic decisions, allocate resources, and be accountable for the delivering results. So yesterday we got to know that the LRA is operating on as a
semi-autonomous agency. Okay.
Or commission of government. So he also talked about that. He talked about restoring merit-based systems at the entity to ensure that promotions and appointments are based on competence and performance. Lastly, one thing he actually made a specific reference on is the issue of how to raise more revenue, domestic resource mobilization, which of course he talked about there's a need for stakeholder review to look at the issue of tax exemption regime, especially there are entities operating in Liberia, because institutions that are being granted that, which of course some of them are being granted 30, some of them 10, without paying anything to government, and they're calling to him. That actually needs to be reviewed.
So okay. Just quickly before I go to my colleague Melvin, the Minister of State, we like to also place some emphasis.
Which of course are calling to him. That would ensure, and also looking at the issue of digitization of some of the areas where you have manual revenue collection still ongoing. There is a need to do that electronically, so as that to be at the discretion of the revenue collector who determines also what to be collected at that point and when to report that on that point.
Okay, so
issues actually the new reference to, and we expect another confirmation here.
Yeah, we'd like to move now to Minister Crisby, Minister of State Designate. Did you witness his appearance as well? So if you did, what were one or two of the highlights?
Something?
Apparently we lost something.
Something, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
We were asking for a few highlights on the appearance of the Minister of State Designate, Ambassador Crisby.
Well, Melvin and Anthony, it was difficult yesterday because due to the time interval and the schedule, you have the Education Minister confirmation hearing ongoing, and also you have the Minister of State President to the field. So we have the Dibala ourselves. We had Jerry who's on camera also following that, and now we're in the meeting of which of course carry on.
So we were subsequently.
Thank you.
Yeah, Melvin was subsequently checked, but I think that was a very, very detailed, very, very good synopsis of some of the high points that came up yesterday, and these are some of the same points we will hold these officials of government to, should they be confirmed to serve in those capacities.
Of course, yes, and thanks to Samson David who keeps following the confirmation hearings at the Senate. But unfortunately, we will not have the time to speak with Emmanuel Colley from the House of Representatives because our guest is already here. And you are aware.
Is it possible to take one or two calls before we go to our guest?
Okay,
just one or two calls.
Okay, no problem. Pastor Alfred Bien. The number to be a part is 077-597-8530. 077-597-8530. Our baseline is 0880-514-096. If you can call, just put in your concern quickly, and the Liberian people are listening. Let's see if we can speak with this person quickly. Good morning.
This is Charles Coffey.
Charles Coffey?
Yeah, Charles Coffey.
Okay, former PEL president.
Right.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, the analysis is very good. And I know people who appear for confirmation, if they will actually conform to the principles and the policy of the government, a lot will be achieved. Especially, we are concerned about the foreign policy. When the former ambassador to Liberia, Lina Tamagrichi, came here, who is now U.S. representative of the United Nations, he assured the government of the United States support to the Liberian government, looking at properly cultural and economic diplomacy, that's about technology, trade, and commerce. So all of these foreign interactions with good relations with our neighbors, I think this government, through the various institutions, especially education, can track more assistance. Another area that you talk about, which is great, about the civil service, people putting in more time. So we expect that the legislature, especially the Liberian Senate, will double up and make sure those who are supposed to be confirmed are confirmed for the full, establishment of the government on the executive level to begin to keep the ball rolling, because more people now expect things to move forward.
Thank you.
Actually, the analysis was very good. It was very educative, and I know people will continue on doing more of that, especially with that of the confirmation process on the educational system.
Thank you so much. Okay, let me speak with this person. Good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to the brother. This is Jerry Henry from Sano.
Go ahead quickly.
Yeah, my recommendation to the president would be any of the government officials, who will not work in the interest of this country, then let be sacked or dismissed. But that's constantly the losing of person we have today. These are some of the things that when you are president, when you have to look at, especially on the local leadership, because the local leadership level, they are the one that control the citizen. The citizen, you are the one that control the center of the superintendent, the city mayor. So I'm asking our president that we elected, that will also dearly to take action on government officials who are not working in the interest of the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We take a few more and usher in our guest 07759785530. 07759785530. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, sir. Go. You come in broken. Go ahead.
Okay, that's network. So I'm still sending others.
Go ahead.
First of all, this morning, let me just appeal to the legislature. Before they confirm anybody, they should not confirm because of if the president not qualified, they should please manage, because the president will approve all of them. So if that be the case, if any trouble we receive with the appointees, then we'll be bringing there also. Thank you so much this morning.
Thank you. As Lauren Bobo Fuya, Lofa County. 07759785530. 07759785530. Our guest, Pastor Afrobian, is already here, but let's speak with this person. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, okay. I want to applaud the legislature for, confirming these people. And we really want them to hasten it, because of the promises the old man made to the people. We're passing all over, just telling also, we are counting the day with this and that. Those are all embarrassment. So let it hasten and confirm these people. Let us start their work immediately.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We take two more and go to our guests. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Yeah, I call from Bakongo and Alfonso. Yeah, my concern is that I would like to tell the United States government that they should look at the civil servants, because we know the economic system is hard. The government will not be able to pay everybody with heavy money that they will be able to do things, but it should be some strategy like LPA. We can remember before these are things. The teacher, the man are making good money, he can get LPA and do a late pay and other things. And I think the government looking at era, it will be okay.
All right. Thank you. Good recommendation to His Excellency. He's a listening man. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Lawal Lama of NIP State.
Go ahead, Lao. Malao.
Yeah. I call to congratulate our president and then to usher the Senate Committee on Confirmation. Whosoever with our character, let them be not confirmed. Let them confirm people that will be in the interest of Liberians and their own interest.
All right, thank you. I take the last person. Morning.
Thank you very much. I am so elated to be the last but not the least. This is the Assistant National Secretary for Social Welfare of the Unity Party and a member of the National Transition Team that has just ended his work.
Noah Gibson.
Noah Zhao Gibson. I want to thank our fellow Nigerians for standing firm, for electing our president, who I think will be the best president in this country ever. We want to admonish you people not to be carried away by the opposition who have started being energized so soon, serious for opposition life, trying to checkmate the government, which is a good thing. But let them also be aware, we want to inform you that there are huge challenges that we are involved with. The past government left huge challenges. And President Bwaka is taking his time to put the broken pieces together. We can guarantee you people, things will be better. And before I leave the line, let me make this clarification. There is this rumor that the president during his annual message said that he will harmonize with salary. No, he didn't say so. What the president said, he will reduce the wage bill. Reducing the wage bill does not mean you harmonize with salary. Meaning, the number of money that go beyond salary will be reduced, not individual salary. Because you have a lot of individuals who are on government payroll, that's why the wage bill is high. So meaning he will create jobs in the private sector, which he already told you by means of legislation to create some means of employment in the private sector to absorb those individuals who will leave the payroll. Then those people who will be in government now, their salary will be increased. So that's just a logic. He tell you that he will reduce salary. That's what he means about reducing the wage bill. Reducing wage bill is different from reducing salary.
Okay.
Let people understand this. So nobody from me, you go against your own government soon. And I can tell you, on the issue of the 100-day deliverables, I can tell you, I'm well informed that the 17 machines supposed to be deployed on the road are already here. They are around. And will be announced soon to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Noah Gibson.
Noah Zhao Gibson.
From Scorpion. Okay. Yeah.
So that was our last caller. I mean, we couldn't have ended on a better note than what we heard from Noah Zhao Gibson. All the callers, your contributions are quite key. Let's hope that we all will continue to constructively engage the new Liberian government, and that we can make progress in moving away from business as usual and developing the country.
A good statement by His Excellency. Yeah. So we take a break and be right back, after which we welcome our guest.
If like my boom making you fire.